Greetings, friends, and welcome to the Sketchbook Tour. Thank you to all of you guys who participated in the polls and gave me a little F yeah. I'm very happy to take you guys along my sketchbook and to kind of share with you where I was, what I was doing, and why I did what I did. I think it's kind of fun to look through other people's sketchbooks because it's kind of like a little glimpse into this person's being to some extent. And I personally really like sharing my art journey with people. That's why I have this YouTube channel and that's why I have an Instagram. So thank you for being here and thank you for having a look through my sketchbook. So this is the Taylor and Roney sketchbook. I have three of them now and completed all three of them. I'll definitely be purchasing a new one in the future. But for now, I'm happy to try out different formats and different papers. I think you kind of get tired of using the same thing over and over. I really like this sketchbook because it's got a hardcover, really nice paper. It's not the thickest paper. You can do some wet mediums in it, but it's going to buckle a bit, which is kind of expected. I really like that it has an off-white color paper. The paper has a little grit to it, so pencil doesn't stick too well. So that's just one drawback, but if you have fixative, it'll be fine. You are viewing the first page in my sketchbook, and this is The Green Knight. I don't recommend you guys watching the movie. I thought it was a little bit weird, but I thought it did have really beautiful aesthetic scenery, and it was really well filmed. I sketched this guy out while I was waiting for my visitor visa at the Home Affairs. So that was a little lifesaver because I waited around quite long. So just so that you guys know, I did lose the original audio to this video. I had this whole half an hour chat with you guys through my sketchbook, and then I somehow didn't record the audio. I'm not sure, something may have gone wrong with my microphone. So if you see me poking around at the pages and like waving my hands, it made sense in the original context, even though it might not now. So please just forgive the silly hand gestures if it doesn't line up with my conversation that I'm having with you guys in the voiceover. So this lady who seems to be extremely tormented is just a reference I found online. I really wanted to push myself and draw facial features that are angled in a weird way. On the next page, you see some botanicals. The pansies came out of my friend's backyard. We had a visit and they had recently bought a house and she had some nice flowers. So while we visited, we did a little bit of sketching in her backyard. So I think these turned out really lovely. And the tree right next to it is another drawing date that I had with Corey Niehaus, my one of my artist friends. We went to a field nearby and painted the scenery. I think I may have shared some of these images on Instagram if you're curious to see. But there was this really aesthetic tree and I just wanted to capture it in pencil. I feel like pencil is such a classic way to represent something. So this is Corey, my artist friend. We had our first drawing date. This is the first day we went to a coffee shop together and just sat around sketching. We tried to sketch each other. I didn't attempt to her entire face because it's just really uncomfortable. It's kind of uncomfortable sketching inside a coffee shop if you're like the only ones doing it. In the coffee shop specifically, there was this really interesting keyhole door that I wanted to try out. I'm really bad at symmetry, so I wanted to try get some stuff accurate, but I obviously failed. But I still think that this piece is a fun reminder of the date. So yeah, I still like it. I think it's okay that it's not perfect. When I flip through my sketchbook, I still think back on it fondly. On the next page, we have yet another drawing session with Corey. We did a Chinese themed still life. I brought some steam buns that I made and we eventually ate it, and also some cute soy bottles. I didn't like my first attempt at drawing these guys, but we played around for quite a few hours, so I managed to give it another shot, and I think the second image is much cooler. I love the blues and the strange colors that you don't really see in real life. Just kind of makes the picture a lot more interesting, in my opinion. On the left, we have a picture of my father and mother-in-law's Johannesburg deck that you can sit at. I wanted to try a different angle and just play around with some mediums that I had, and I think it turned out really cute. I love the frame around the image. On the right, we have a couple of Canadian family members. I feel like I really butchered these people's faces, and I'm really sorry if they're watching and I did not do them justice. They're actually all very attractive people, but in this image, they look a little shady. But I still really like the color schemes, and I like that I know that they are family members that I really adore. So I still like the image, even though it's a little bit creepy, maybe even. Yeah, so that happens. So this is an image that I did in 2018. So I decided to just put it somewhere safe. So technically, this piece doesn't count as this year's sketchbook that I completed, but I'm okay with it because I think it's a really good reminder to do monochromatic sceneries or just to paint in monochromatic. I think it's a good practice. So the image on the right is a tree from our local botanical gardens. I went with a friend again. It's not the previous friend that I went with. I have a couple of buddies who enjoy doing creative things, so it's kind of nice being invited and organizing things like this. I wanted to use this tree as an example for my Rabbit the Raven calendar that I was planning on doing and decided against. So he was just sitting close to this really cool looking tree and reading his little book. Yeah, so it was kind of like a planning sketch. The next page is just a study I did of the botanical gardens that we visited. And here is my very first kind of collage drawing that I tried out. I don't love this, but I think it is a jumping off point for collage. This is probably my favorite spread in the entire sketchbook. I was inspired by multiple artists when I attempted this spread. I will link those people in the description below because I think they are worthwhile checking out. I don't remember the artist who did the doves on the left side, but she's got such a beautiful voice and her channel is pretty awesome. She also does a lot of sketchbooking and surprisingly also in the De La Roni sketchbook. Anyway, I'll definitely link her video below. Go have a look at it once you're done here. On the right, we have my messy veggies. I made a video on it a little while ago, so you're welcome to check that out if you're interested in the process. I really enjoyed this. I really like vegetables. I like that they're colorful and they come in different shapes, and it was just really so much fun. I'd really like to know how you guys feel about sketchbooks. I have an honest love-hate relationship with them. For me, it feels almost like going for a run is good for you, so you do it because it's good for you, but you have a really hard time the whole way there and back. So it's a little bit like a chore for me sometimes to do illustrations and to plan out sketches and to try out different mediums. I know it should be fun, but the idea of filling up a sketchbook and then having it look perfect is a very unnecessarily overwhelming. It feels like something that should be a lot more fun for me, but that's just not my overall experience. But I keep doing it because going for a run is good for my heart, for my body, for my mind, and it just keeps my muscles strong. So if I can pull that analogy all the way through to sketchbooking, I think it is a very good practice, even if it is a little bit difficult sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I have had really pleasant experiences filling up sketchbooks, but I don't know, there are some artists who seem to do it with so much ease and just breeze through sketchbooks. I mean, this specific one only has 62 pages and it took me nearly an entire year to do it. And that's not to say that I haven't drawn other things outside of the sketchbook. I think on the contrary, I probably do drawings outside of sketchbooks a lot more, specifically for projects and commissioned work and personal stuff. But Filling up a sketchbook for me is definitely laborsome, and I am genuinely super impressed with myself if I manage to do it. In this image, I was trying to imitate Quentin Blake. He's the illustrator for a lot of Roald Dahl's children's books. I just really like his crazy ink style. It seems so not deliberate, but it's definitely deliberate because there's a very distinct style that features throughout all of his work. And he just kind of made me really want to try out dip pen. I do own a few dip pens, but every single time I work with them, they just mess up my hands with a bunch of ink and it drips everywhere, and I don't manage to keep the lines straight without making some really ugly ink blobs. I don't know, I think I just want a little bit more control, and I'm okay with using fine liners for now. I do know that there are some exceptional artists who just work with dip pens, but I don't know if I'll ever be one of those. I'm okay with more modern pens. So here I'm trying to incorporate some collage aspects into a frog illustration. The next page is basically just me trying out some different mediums and repeating Mr. Puddles the frog's whole character. And then we have the usual ugly spread in a sketchbook. This is just me trying to learn how to do figure studies. I am subscribed to Line of Action. It's a very awesome free site where you can get access to figure study poses, animals, architecture, and scenery. So if you're in need of references, go check them out. Also, I'll drop the link in the description. So here we have a perfect example of the messy dip pen that I was trying to explain to you guys earlier on. This was done with a dip pen and ink. On site with my friend Kari, I made a video about it, so please go check it out if you're interested in seeing that whole process. It's a nice little time-lapse video of that specific image. As you could see, there was like a lot of ink blobs, and it was just such a mess. It just put me off from wanting to play around with them. Then I went through a phase where I wanted to practice to become a better artist. So that includes shading and drawing hands. I made a pact with myself to draw hands every evening for a little while. This did not last very long, but it was still a really good practice, and I'm happy that I did it, and I'll definitely do it again in the future. Since I find filling up a sketchbook to be more of a chore than a pleasure, I tend to leave some of the pages kind of open and bare. I don't mind making notes in my sketchbook. I think it's healthy to have a spot where you can kind of write out your thoughts, even if it's supposed to be more like a visual diary instead of a verbal one or a written one. So you'll see a lot of notes throughout the sketchbook. I used to feel a little bit like a Puritan when it came to having a sketchbook. Like it was only acceptable to do illustrations and full blown images in a sketchbook, but I think I've started to change my mind about that. Later on, you'll see me doing a lot of thumbnailing and a lot of preliminary sketches that really assist in the whole process of making illustrations, and that I do believe my illustration abilities have improved since I started implementing this whole practice in my art life. On this full spread, we have the sketch for the journeyist. I made a video on the 7 epiphanies that I've had regarding my art. And not to honk my own horn or anything, but I do think that some of the insights that I have gained could be quite useful for people who are interested in leveling up their illustration game, even if it's just by a little bit. I think that's how we build on top of our skills anyways. And just to point out, Crow Lord over here, the illustration that you see me pointing at right now, and the Journeyist, the image just before Crow Lord, in conjunction with them and a couple of other illustrations that I'm flipping through right now, I managed to get a international illustration job that I did for a author who was shopping around his book. He needed some fantasy illustrations done in order to show the publishers what it could look like at the end. Again, I'm not trying to honk my horn or anything, but I do feel like there are some specific things you can do to legitly level up in your art. And some of the things I mentioned in that video, the 7 Epiphanies one. So it's just kind of cool how if you manage to grow as an artist because you kind of gain some new mental ground on art, you could get jobs. That was something very liberating to experience, and this is something that started in my sketchbook. So I think that there is quite a bit of value in having a sketchbook and trying out your thoughts and ideas. What is your overall view on a toad that is illustrated in a book? Is this toad a good guy or a bad guy? In my mind, they're always bad, and I don't know if that's a good thing. So let me know what the general consensus is to make sure that I'm not a loony bin. I love this sketch so much. I thought that she could be like a little vampire girl who bit her dog and then he got buried and she had to go dig him up in like 3 days' time because that's when the whole vampire process has come to a full circle. And then she got caught digging him up out of the graveyard. I haven't done any fully rendered versions of this, but I think I would like to revisit her and do something proper. On this page, we have a really quick sketch that I did while we were waiting at Heathrow Airport, and we were at a restaurant having some drinks and food. I quickly abandoned the sketch when the food came, so it's kind of like a half done image. And on the right side, we have some character designs that I did for the international author that I did some sketches for. I really didn't want to butcher the project, so I revisited the characters quite a few times before I settled on something. I did a lot of sketches and a lot of thumbnails, as you can see on this page as well, planning out some of the images. This is a painting I did while I was in Canada. This is the view that my mother-in-law has from her apartment. It's an incomplete picture. I do wish that I kind of sat down and finished it, but we moved around quite a bit, so there wasn't as much time. But even though it's not done, I still like the unfinished vibe that it creates. On the next page, we have a little froggy that my mother-in-law's boyfriend's daughter, who is 7, drew for me. She flipped through my sketchbook and said that, oh, she sees that I like frogs, so she's gonna draw me a frog, and I really like it. It's like a little treasure inside of my sketchbook, and I don't think I want to get rid of it. So there we have it. I drew so many cats for the project for the international author. I'm sorry for saying that over and over again. I just don't know if I can give more details than that. But I found cats to be extremely difficult to draw. It was fine if you drew like a once off kind of cat that you didn't have to repeat in different frames at different poses and stuff. But as soon as I tried to create a shape that I could reproduce over and over in different at different angles and whatnot, I really struggled. So at the end of the day, I kind of kept it simple and just had it be a very simplistic cat. And the author was really happy with it, so I'm really grateful for that. I'm sure I could have come up with better ideas, but sometimes keeping stuff simple is literally the best idea you can have and stick to. More toads. This was my sketches that I was trying to think through for the book project. Again, this frog was an evil one, or it's a toad, it's not a frog. Yeah, so I really want to know if you guys view them as malicious in general. If you think about a toad, if it's a little bit of a negative connotation. More cat drawings. On the next page, I tried to redeem the whole toad thing for myself, but I think he's a frog, so unfortunately, toads have not yet been redeemed for myself. But this is a really fancy frog, and I think he's really cute, and he turned out pretty great. On the right, I tried to think through the Inktober individual images before I decided on doing a comic version of Inktober, so I never really got far of that. Here we have me thinking through my character for Inktober, planning out the first couple of pages in little thumbnails. We have some more character planning for the comic, and then our Inktober prompt list on the right. I don't know why I decided to print out the prompt list and stick them into the sketchbook like this. I did enjoy ticking them off, that was quite motivating. Here we have my scary toad once more for my Inktober. He was a cool character, and I felt a little bit sorry for him at the end. And here we have the last couple of drawings I did before I settled on my main character for the Inktober comic. Her name is Noah, and I really enjoyed drawing her over and over again. So a lot of the sketchbook is just filled up with planning out the Inktober spreads. I was using my color erase pencil that I very much adore, but it might not be super clear for you guys. I'm sorry about that. But if you guys wanted to see the end results of those sketches, you can go to the section where I have shorts on my YouTube channel. I have a video where I go through prompt 1 to 31, so if you're curious, feel free to have a look. The rest of the sketchbook, I think I was just trying to fill it up, so it's not the prettiest thing ever. It is what it is, but I consider it a completed sketchbook, even if I have quite a bit of open spaces on my pages. I think for the next sketchbook, I want to try do full pages instead of little bits here and there. My one friend has kind of inspired me to do that. Savannah, thank you very much. I will definitely be attempting it. I can't promise for sure if I'm going to stick it through because sometimes you just want to make a really ugly little rough sketch and it doesn't have to be a completed thought. Here we have Ethel. I'm so proud of her. She is a unfortunate princess who goes through quite a bit of pain. I'm planning on using her as the character for my folk tale week illustrations that I am planning on participating in for this year. And if that goes well, it'll form part of a bigger children's picture book, but I'm not sure if it really suits the the ages within a children's sphere. So it kind of feels like it's going to be a picture book for adults because I'm going to be touching on some heavy themes. Yeah, but I like her. She's a cool character already, and I had her kind of be the end of the sketchbook, and I think she'll be featuring in the next one as well. And that is basically it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me while I chatted your ears off and yeah, just shared some of my thoughts. Please let me know about the toad thing. I really want to hear what you guys think. And also, do you have a love hate relationship with your sketchbook, or are you one of those lucky artists who just seem to breeze through it? I am very curious about that because I feel like I'm alone. So, at the last page, the inside of my end page, I stuck this little thing that I printed out for myself, and it's just a little reminder for when I started and when I end my sketchbook. And you'll see that it's a month away from being a full year that it took me to fill up the sketchbook. And that's okay. I don't think you have to rush a sketchbook in order to have as many as possible on your bookshelf. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to starting my new sketchbook with you guys, and I hope that this inspired you to go grab some stationery, grab even a loose paper that you can stick into your sketchbook later. If you do actually draw something and you're proud of it and you'd like to share it with me, I am on Instagram, so you're welcome to just tag me. This is my new sketchbook, so hooray! I made it and I'm proud of it, and I look forward to filling up these pages. So, thank you for joining me on this journey and give us a little like if this was enjoyable. Right, chat to you guys again in the next one. Bye.